Okay. Yeah, we're nice now. We're nice now. Man, it's nice out here. All
We
right,
good?
We're good. I think we're good. I can see some track. I can see some waves.
Waves, that's what we're about. It's all and that is the intro to this week's TalkOver podcast. Yes, Spoony's in the building.
Wavy.
How are you, brother?
I'm good, man. I'm good. I was speaking to my girlfriend earlier and I was saying, boy, imagine this, man. I met Dubl. It must be 12 years, 13 years on one of them Greek islands, resident DJ. And I said to myself, I remember coming off, and you did a mix, right, where you used the intro. You did one where you used the intro of Little Bit of Luck, and then you did another one where you used the intro of Jocelyn Brown, Somebody Else's Guy. And I said, you know what?
Is it?
I said, my man is about his ting.
Yeah, it was they were adventurous times, man. That was so much fun. Actually, it was funny because I was explaining to Stylus before we came online that's how we met. We met out in Greece, and that's how I met a lot of the guys that I know in the DJ world.
Yeah.
But the established DJs. I met so many of them because I was doing a residency and the club were like, right, who do we need to book? Yeah. So I was just kind of get this guy. And then, just they started flying people out and you were one of them.
Yeah, nice, man.
Yeah, that was fun times, man. That club was,
Starlight.
Yeah, it's just Starlight Clubbing.
Peter.
It's so much fun. Yeah, Peter.
Yeah, mate.
It was, yeah, so much fun.
What would do to go back to them times now, man?
Oh, mate.
That feels like a million years ago.
Yeah. So, Spoony, how has the panoramic been for you, man?
Yeah, it's been different. It's been different. You know, one thing that I've always tried to do, and not that I'm someone that can see into the future, is just try and keep a nice varied life. So you have different things to do. You could wake up with a different sort of perspective and a different challenge every day. But it actually stood me in good stead for this pandemic. Do you know what I mean? Because otherwise, if I was just someone who was totally focused on only DJing and it was just a music thing, life would be very tough now. But I have, you know, so many different hobbies and interests, and some hobbies that have become my profession, that I've been all right with it. It's, you know, I'm not going to sit here and say it's been fantastic, because some days have been tough, but generally speaking, I've coped all right.
Yeah, there's a lot of DJs that we've spoken about that generally seem to have been kind of championing and winning through the pandemic, and I think definitely you're one of them. Looking at the social media output and the different things you've been able to do, even the stuff that me and you have spoken about, like when we're messaging each other, from the online events you're doing, but even just the cycling.
Yeah, man. Yeah, I've really loved it. I mean, I somewhat stumbled onto it, quite literally as well, because I hurt my knee running, and I wanted to sort of stay fit. When you get to my age, it takes an age to get fit, and you could get unfit very quickly. So I got to a stage where I was quite fit. I didn't want to lose it all, and I said, right, I'm going to just start cycling to tick over until I can start running again. And that was, you know, it's been almost a month, but I can get on my bike now and do, you know, if I wanted, I could cycle 50 miles, and I know that mentally I can cope with that. I mean, I've done more than that, but you know, it's been good. Cycling's been brilliant. It's a great sport, fantastic sport. I'd advise anyone to get into it, and you can really build up. You could go from cycling, you know, from 1 mile, 2 miles to 5 miles. Before you know it, you're doing 10 miles and 20, and then you really are up and running. But you're one of the hardcore cyclists. You go out on a mountain bike. I've not done that yet.
I wouldn't say. Oh no! I wouldn't say. I've got a mountain. Hold on. It's got misconstrued now.
Dubl definitely does.
I've got a mountain bike, but I'm not going up mountains. I'm going on bike rides. I'm going on bike rides with an 8-year-old boy next to me. So no. It's far from hardcore. How many miles have you done in a day? What's the biggest trek you've done?
I did 100 kilometers, so 65 miles.
Wow!
In one day?
Yeah.
How long did it take?
We were out for about 4 hours, 4.5 hours.
Wow,
that's like cycling to Leeds from my crib in Manchester. That's like 60 miles. That is ridiculous.
Yeah, I think previously to that, I went on my own. I cycled to my friends in Hemel Hempstead from North London, and that was sort of 26 miles there, 26 miles back. So that's 52 miles in a day. But yeah, it's just, you know, once you're on the road and you've got a little bit of music and you know where you're going, you can do it. You just keep pedaling, man.
That is eager, bro.
Oh, it's getting a routine as well, man. Like I feel like when I'm in the gym routine, I don't struggle with it, and I'm on job every single day. But with the lockdown stuff and the gym's being closed, if I miss 1 or 2 days, I kind of just fall off the edge of a cliff with the fitness aspect, man. I need to plug back in. I need to take a leaf out of your book, Spoony. 50-mile cycles a day.
And you know what? It's interesting what you just said there, Stylus, right? Because I think the people that have struggled through lockdown, the people that didn't have and don't have a structure, I think if you have a structure to your day, to your week, to your month, to your life generally, you can cope with these things, because you forget you're in a pandemic because it's 7 o'clock or it's 8 o'clock and I've got to go to the gym. And then I know at midday I'm going to go out on the bike. And that's going to be Tuesday, Wednesday. And I definitely realised that in lockdown 1, where I was doing a stream on a Friday, on a Saturday, on a Sunday, on a Tuesday, that for me, it was like, this is just like a normal working week. I didn't feel that I was in a pandemic because I had something to base and, like I say, structure my time around.
I feel like the people... Go on, Dubs.
No, I was going to say, I've got the routine and I had the structure beforehand, but touching on what you said right at the start, majority of my life, especially the working life, is based around DJing and what I'm doing as a DJ. So that's where it was kind of like, it kind of crumbled a little bit in lockdown 1, especially with the complete role reversal, where now I'm homeschooling and not really doing, like, it was a bit of a mess. But yeah, exercise was a paramount part of me keeping my sanity, I think.
It's the people that have the 9 to 5s as well, like you say, going back to routine, the dudes that have been furloughed and are now at home all day when they would be in the office or out working. Like I say, their routine is completely, like, it's out the window, really, isn't it? So I can see what you're saying there.
Yes, it is important, and I think moving forward, when we do eventually come out of the lockdowns and the various forms and stages and tiers of the lockdowns, that there'll be people who learn and found out a bit about themselves, things that they didn't realize about themselves. Some people will come out of it as champions and stronger, and some people will come out of it in pieces. And I said to myself, I'm coming out of it as the former. I'm not coming out of this in a worse position financially. Absolutely, I am, because if we can't work and we can't earn money, there's enough. You can't kind of replicate that. However, there have been so many other parts of me, my life, as DJ Spoony, that have grown, that wouldn't have grown but for the pandemic. So yeah, you just got to crack on, man.
How do you balance so many crafts then, Spoony? Because obviously radio, TV, production, DJ.
We were tallying up all the things. We were tallying everything up. Like, how's this? There's definitely more than one of this guy.
Like, how have you learned to balance these over the years? Obviously, you've had a long and very successful career. Like, how have you learned to jump between the two and be successful in all these different avenues, man?
Wow, you know what? I'm not even, now you're asking me the question, I don't even know. I don't think I have really thought about it in those terms. I think that radio, I've always enjoyed doing radio, whether I'm talking about music or talking about sport. But I think my main areas would have been the music, then I would have had the sport, and then I guess any other business. But yeah, I don't know. I don't know how I do it. I genuinely can't.
It kind of just evolves, doesn't it? Yeah, like, especially in this industry, you just end up picking and jumping into. Do you kind of fall into these other things by accident, or is it just a natural progression?
Well, again, it's something that I've always, I can honestly say that before I loved music the way that I do, before I played a record professionally or even semi-professionally, let's say, I was an absolute football nut. So, the way I could go as far as saying that football was my real first love, even though music has been such an important part of my life. It's had paramount importance in my life, that football was my first love. So when I got the opportunity to become a sports broadcaster, I was like, I'm ready for this. And quite ironically, that came after the music career took off. So, in many ways, I've been fortunate, not once, but twice, because I've had two of my absolute loves and hobbies have ended up being my work and my profession.
I'm so jealous, man. You've literally got because I'm the same. Like my first love was football and then music, but I've always I'm like I'm a bit of a football hooligan when it comes to that side of stuff. So yeah, I'm jealous, man. I'm jealous. The way you've been able to fuse the two is amazing.
It's funny because I can't think of a job worse than having to be a football.
Dubl hates football. What kind of person hates football, man?
I don't know. I mean, if he told me that before I come on here, I might not even
coming on.
Right.
No, it's Spoony. I'm hardcore with the football. We can survive without him.
you know the thing, Dubs, that I look at it in terms of not maybe whether we're passionate about football, whether we're passionate about music. It's just, do we have passions? And I think even if someone has a passion at something that, they might be into fishing, where they know all of their floats, they know the best places to go and catch the best kind of fish. I can get down with that because I understand what it's like to have that passion, and that's how I apply it to football, or how I apply it to music. So a key, again, another one of those keys to life is to have a passion, have something that really matters to you, that you really care about. And even if it's something that we don't, and you don't care about football, but you care, you care about music. So, we're cool. We've got common ground there.
Yeah, most definitely, man. Talking about so your career has been so, I want to say this without coming across like I'm saying you're really old. It's been like such a long spanning career. Like you've had so much success for such a long time. How have you managed to kind of stay relevant? Because in what you do as well, especially because you started out with garage, professionally, like the garage scene isn't the most relevant scene right now, but it feels like you're as relevant now as you were then.
So this is interesting, and maybe this is a part of the longevity or the success, is that I never look at it in terms of relevance, because when you say relevance, or when that phrase gets banded, the question that I ask is relevant to who? Because if I'm not chasing someone's attention, then I don't think relevance comes into it in that way. Now, I know I will always have an audience. Now, whether or not my audience is 16 or 18-year-olds that want to listen to grime or trap, well, I'm not aiming and gearing my attention to you. So I'm absolutely relevant to those people whose opinions I care about. So in that instance, it doesn't matter. And listen, I've been lucky because I've had a long broadcasting career, and I've been successful as whether it be individually or as a dream team. So, but yeah, the relevance thing I hear said a lot about people. I'm like, the minute you start trying to chase the relevance, I think you make yourself irrelevant, because people who are good at what they do and they know what they do, they will always be relevant to people who are into what they do. So that's my kind of short/long answer to that.
I think that's probably one of the sickest answers to a question I've ever had.
That's today's soundbite sorted.
That's it. We've got the Instagram clip right there. No, what an incredible answer, man. That's an amazing outlook to have. I think I'll take something away from that answer. Do you know what I mean? Like, I think that's something everybody could take away from it. Like, stop chasing the relevance and kind of just do what you want to do. The people that need to care will care. Because
again, like I said, what is relevance? Relevance to who? I do my streams. I do my streams every week, and I mean, depending on whatever your metric is, my streams are really successful. So
your streams are popping, man.
I must be relevant. And even if that relevance is to 50 people, then that's where you are. I don't need the adulation of the millions and millions of people, because I know I'm not Beyonce. I know I'm not Ed Sheeran. I know I'm not Stormzy. I know I never was any of those unbelievable acts. But what I do know is, within my world, that people wanted to hear me, and people still do want to hear me. So as far as I'm concerned, still relevant.
Amazing.
How have you found the streaming side of stuff, Spoony? Like, with obviously what's going on now, not being able to do the clubs, this is kind of new for a lot of DJs, like jumping into like Twitch and broadcasting on YouTube. Like, how have you found it? Obviously, I've looked into your stuff, and it's super sick, man. Like the clarity, the setup, the sound, everything is on point. How's it been for you, man?
You know, I'm going to go as far as saying it's been amazing. I actually had done a few streams from this setup before lockdown, once we were still able to go out clubbing, because I had the technology and spoke to a couple of people of friends of mine, namely Mojax, who's like the Don Wizard of
king.
streaming and tech,
Shouts to
spoke,
Mojax.
yeah, big up Mojax, honourable mention for Mojax, and he came over to my house, helped me set up, and then so when lockdown
sick.
came,
No way.
yeah, man.
We've had him on the podcast before, man. And
Okay.
He's like tech geek.
Yeah, I had the king in this place. I had the king
Mad.
in this room, and he set up my OBS and advised me what cameras to get, and we done it all properly. And and that is one thing. Just going back about the longevity of career, I've always sort of tried to maintain a high level of integrity, and if I was going to do something, I wanted to do it properly. So that's why I got Mojax in to come and set up the studio. And the room is not, it's not ideal, but we've absolutely made the most of what it is. And I went as far as making sure that I wasn't using Wi-Fi, that my main computer was hardwired into the router, so I knew that I knew that my signal was going to be absolutely solid, and we got 2 or 3 different camera views and started tweaking stuff, and it's been stable. I've had no technical difficulties in it must be coming up to 200 hours of streaming. So
Double can relate to this.
Yeah, I'm the complete opposite of that, actually. I tried a live stream, everything fell apart, nothing worked. I was on the phone to Stylus, who was watching the live stream. I didn't advertise it because it was a test stream, and he's there telling me all the problems. I'm there trying to mix, trying to sort out the technical difficulties, trying to be the cameraman.
Should have just called Mojax, bro.
If I'd realised Mojax was doing home visits to come and sort everything out, I would have just called him.
Yeah, well, that's it's Spoony, bro. Come on.
Yeah.
No. Let me tell you. The thing is, I was very humble when I spoke to him, and he's a very humble person, and he knows his onions. And when you talk about dons and experts of their zone, he is one of his. So there's no way. I don't care how many people I've DJ'd in front of. Once you step into another man's lane, you have to give him the respect, because
100%.
even though he might not be as famous as me in that world, that counts for nothing. When you knock on that door, you just best fix up, look sharp, because you don't know about these things. And he came in like a wizard, and like I said, touch wood, from day one, we've been very, very, very stable. And then DJ Volatile has helped me with some of the software stuff since then to make it look pretty. But yeah, really fortunate, and I have really enjoyed it. And I made a concerted effort at the beginning, a concerted decision that I was going to stream and play music that I loved playing, and hopefully people would trust me to entertain them. So I wasn't chasing, I wasn't trying to be anything that I wasn't. Okay. I played house and garage because I love house and garage music, and then I started doing the Sunday brunches where, again, I know management, agents at the time have been, no, don't do that. That's it's not real. And I'm like, I don't really care. I'm not chasing attention. I'm going to broadcast and play what I want to play. And it's just that Sunday show where I'm playing reggae and rare groove and some soca and some
They're the best ones,
low
man.
jams.
The best ones.
Everyone. I think I'm on at about 2-1 listenership from my Sunday brunch where I'm playing rare groove and reggae to when I'm playing house and garage.
Yeah, but I think it's something we've mentioned so many times when we're talking about streaming. That's something the DJs can do right now. When it doesn't, if you're live streaming and you don't mind about how many people are in the audience, you're just live streaming for you. You can add your flavor, all the songs you want to play. You don't have to worry about clearing the dance floor. You don't have to worry about a manager coming up and being like, oh, this isn't the kind of vibe we wanted. And all this. Do you know what I mean? It's literally like, welcome to my world. This is what goes on in my head, and you have the privilege of listening to it now. Like, it's a beautiful thing, man. Amazing.
Nice. It really is. And on Sunday, I did, again, I've done a lot of broadcasting, and I've been on big radio stations and big organisations and corporations. But to be able to come in and just play 100% of the music that you want to play for as long as you do, for as not as long as you want to do. If I want to play 7 R&B records, I can. If I want to play an hour of just two-step, I can. And this last weekend, I decided that I was going to do 2 vinyl sessions. So I did a house and garage vinyl session on a Saturday, and on a Sunday, reggae and rare groove, just on vinyl, just on plastic.
Okay.
And let me tell you, right, it was at one point I stopped the music and just thanked everybody for trusting me to entertain them, because no one's saying play this and we want that. They're just saying, look, we're going to sit down.
There for the journey.
Whatever it is you want to play, bruv, you just give it to us. And having that freedom as a DJ to just go in any direction you want at any time is why I started DJing. So every week I'm able to just stock back up those good juices of positivity with being able to do why we started to play. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And as a DJ, Dubs, you know that there's how can you play? Oh, we don't really want to hear that. And you go, I'm not a jukebox. This is not.
Yeah,
this
precisely.
is not what it is.
Yeah, and that's a massive problem with pre-pandemic clubs. Is like that's one of the biggest complaints you see on social media on a Sunday morning. Is the Saturday night DJs coming online to be like, oh, I can't believe Karen was asking for this last night. Da, 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 da. Do you know what I mean? But no, what a thing, man. And it must be like mentally such a refreshing thing. You know how like bodybuilders and that say they go to the gym to work out and they get their headspace right? That must be the best mental workout for a DJ, just going online and just playing what you want to play to an audience that is so open to hearing it as well. Nice. And on top of that, sorry, I know I'm going on, but no. On top of that, coming out the back of this, what you're doing right now is building a fan base of people who love the exact same selection as you.
Exactly.
Which means you might be selling out venues to people who want to hear every single song you want to hear. And that to me is like the DJ Mecca.
Well, this is the thing. And again, going back to that relevance of creating your own lane. Mm-hmm. You create your own lane. It's not about, when people say relevance, what does that even mean? I don't even know what that even means in the way that people talk about it, because I know now, again, we could do a Spoonie's house post-lockdown and I can say, right, the audience there they might expect me to play house, garage, bit of R&B, some rare grooves. And in fact, they've come there to hear the whole lot. That's the beautiful thing about it. And when I cast my mind back to when I was pre-DJing, when I would go out, you'd go out and you just trust the DJ and you'd be like, whatever he feels that he wants us to listen to, that's what I'm here for. And it feels like in my streams that we've gone full circle in that. And that's why I'm enjoying it. I think last year, I compared the amount of hours I DJ'd virtually to the previous year, and I DJ'd maybe 1.5 to 1 virtually more than I did actually live in a club. That's how much I was enjoying it.
Right, wow. Sick. Yeah, I wish I could say the same.
I feel like now more than
Mojax. You need to get Mojax in the dance.
Yeah.
I feel like now more than ever as well, like if you can't express yourself and play the stuff that you want to play in your streams, like when you're in full control and the clubs are shut, like now is the perfect time to build that avenue if you haven't already done it. Like you say, a lot of the times in the clubs, you do play for demand and kind of what people want, and you will mix in bits of your own stuff and try and make it your own, but you do end up getting dragged into entertaining the people in front of you in it with the streams. If you can't just open up your musical catalogue, then you're going to struggle doing it at all, in my opinion.
Yeah, because when you've got people there live, there is a slight different energy. You have a slightly different responsibility. But again, it's you create that yourself by what you're going to play. And if people think that you're just going to play, anything, and there's not any real integrity to what you're going to do, they're going to come and ask for anything. Whereas actually, when they come through the door, they should know, boy, I'm just coming to get entertained. This guy, I'm going to trust this DJ to give me some goodness. And that's it. That's all that we can ask for.
I feel like it used to be like that back in, if I go back to the old garage days, I grew up with the crowds then, and then in the middle, it kind of got lost a little bit. And like you say, it's kind of gone full circle with the streaming. How would you compare the crowds from the different generations from when you broke through with Dream Team to say playing in like the late 2000s or whatever? Has it changed a lot for you? Or
Yeah, I think, but a lot has changed as well. So it's not as though clubbing has stood still and the world has moved around it. Lots have changed. Record labels, digital and physical music, vinyl to CDs to MP3s. All of these things change the dynamic. How accessible music is now, how throwaway music is now. Because again, like I said, I've had conversations with radio stations and DJs on radios that you can't just get a record once and play a record once. You don't create a hit in that way. You create a hit by playing a record again and again and again, so it seeps in, so people totally understand it. They look for it, they start requesting it. And 4 weeks ago, you played it as a first time. If you're just going to play a record once and then not play it again, but again, you look at it from the DJ's perspective, that there's so much music coming into your inbox every day.
Crazy, yeah.
That you just and then it's just where's the where's the passion, as opposed to and I'm going to make myself sound like a bit of a dinosaur here now, but you'd get up, you'd get dressed, you'd get on a bus, you'd get on a tube, you'd go to a record shop, you'd sit there and listen to the tunes for an hour or two, and then you'd decide which ones you were going to buy. You'd get home, you'd open them, you'd play them again. So once you go through all of that and you pay £6 or £7 for one record, there's no time you're just going to play it and throw it away. So for that reason, you develop a relationship with every piece of vinyl that you bought. And I mean, I'm sat here and I've got loads of vinyl. I'm sat here around it now, and every time I pick up a piece of vinyl, there's a story behind that.
There is, man.
And the album covers, you become associated with them, as opposed to it's just a line in record box or tractor or whatever it is. That
just some text.
You would know the record just by looking at the side of it in your box, though. And even when it's all tattered, you would still know. You would learn the records. The sacrifice when you're in the store and you'd pick up like 5, but maybe you could only afford 3 of them, and you're weighing up which one to put back into the shelf. But I was, bro. What I did, I actually did this I did it with the Amira record. I hid it in another sleeve of a shit record. So no one would get it, and I stashed it at the back. And this is when HMV used to sell the garage vinyl. They used to sell some good stuff, man.
They did.
So I think it was even on the flip of a double vinyl LP with like I think My Love and a few other. I can't remember what was on there, and I stashed the vinyl in another record so I could go back and get it the next day, and it was still there.
Amazing.
There's a story for you.
I mean, Mikey B used to cover. He'd go and get some specials and he'd cover it because he just wouldn't want anyone else to know what it was. So this is what DJs used to do, man.
Yeah.
Wow.
You must have a monumental vinyl collection.
Yeah, it is quite big, and most of it's actually in storage, but I have got some of it here, enough to do a few garage sets anyway. And I'm going to do another one in a few weeks, hopefully, and not play any of the same music, just to show that all of this music is out here. But yeah, my record collection is really varied. I'm just looking behind me there now, and I've got Stevie Wonder and Tony Tone, and it's Earth, Wind and Fire. It's all sat there.
Can you remember the first vinyl that you purchased or maybe were given when you were younger, or can you remember?
Yeah, I can.
Go on.
So the first bit of vinyl that I was actually given was in a Christmas stocking. And it was a Police record, because I really used to like that.
In a stocking.
Yeah, my mum gave me that as a 7-inch. We went to the Caribbean when we were kids, and when we got off the plane at Antigua, Police were filming. They were on our same flight from Heathrow, and they were filming their video in Antigua, and I went mad. My mum had no idea who they were, totally bothered. And then the first piece of vinyl that I bought myself was Magic Touch by Rolls Royce.
Wow.
Yeah. I think every music fan remembers their first vinyl.
Mine was a gift. I got the Bad album, Michael Jackson.
Nice.
And it's still in the cellophane and everything, man. It never even got opened.
Really?
Well, even now.
It's an original one. It's probably worth a half
Bruv,
decent mint.
what are you doing? You're sat on a house deposit right there.
No, because what I did,
What are you doing?
I ripped a load of my vinyls and sold a lot of my collection. And I just kept some of the rarities. And I look back now and I fully regret my decision getting rid of it. But I
got rid of it?
No, I didn't get rid of that. I got rid of a heap of my collection. I just kept like some rarities. They were just in storage under my dad's stairs for so long. So like obviously I stopped buying vinyl over the years, so they just kind of sat there rotting away in the end.
That's one of my dreams, is to have all of my vinyl in one place, in one room. And I'm in the process of trying to buy a house, and I've got the room already in my head.
Yes.
It's going to be a room where the vinyl is just wrapped around on the walls. It's going to have 2 armchairs, just a turntable, an amplifier, and the 2 speakers. That is it. That's all that's going to be in that room. But it's not going to be, I'm going to have a digital music room, but I'm going to have that room just as a vinyl room, like a library almost, like a sanctuary. And it's something that I've wanted, all my life. So I'm getting to that stage now where you've got to start giving yourself flowers,
Yeah, sick.
That's fair.
Sick.
How have you been with the technology then, Spoony? Because we have these stories of the vinyls back in the day carrying the crates to the clubs. Obviously now OBS, setting up the streams. Like you've pretty much been and through the whole like timeline of tech and the evolution of DJing. Like, do you like the new ways and the new technologies, or are you more of like an old school cat?
You know what? I can see the benefits of both. Like, don't get me wrong, the absolute nightmare of flying with 2 record boxes. It's
it
no
was
fun.
Hard work, man.
No, it's no fun. Like, at the end of every summer season, I would have a bit of a shoulder injury, a bit of a knee injury, because when you're carrying that amount of weight, and not realizing
it was so heavy.
Oh my days, Dubs. But the other side of it, what was really nice is that when I did the stream on a weekend, that I actually still can DJ on vinyl, and I know that. I know that might not mean anything.
It's not for everyone.
It's not for everyone, bro. It's not for everybody. But I embraced the technology. I remember the time when we were making the transition from vinyl to CD, when MP3s were first coming out, that I did that, and remember speaking to Master Steps about going onto the laptop, and having a gig and going, right, at some point you need to jump in. Do you know what I mean? And you remember that first time of setting up the Serato
First
box
time using
Serato.
Oh my God, I remember sweating.
Nervous, man.
It's like diffusing a bomb. Yeah. Setting up a Serato package in the early days, or even the changeover. If there's another DJ on before, which obviously that must have been the case with you, Spoony, coming on after the warm-up or whatnot, changing those wires over.
I don't think the nervousness of doing changeovers ever left me. No matter what club or set I go to, that always got me sweating every time, and it'd take me a couple songs into my set to like calm
down again,
settle in, just to settle down a little bit.
Anxiety, man, and then the things start spinning the wrong way. I remember because it was Master Steps that showed me how to do it, and I said, "But brother, I'm traveling." I think the first time I used it, I was going to Dubai as well, and I said, Steps, I'm going to need to have you on speed dial, because if this goes wrong, I need to be comforting myself with the fact that I can call you. And he's like, yeah, no problem. And lo and behold, first 2 calls, no answer. I'm there behind the decks.
When you need them the most, they never answer, man. It's always the case.
He answered on the 3rd call, and then again, then he showed me the way, just leave the phono leads in on one side, then you take them out the box, plug it in the other side, and I was like, oh, that's easy. Why didn't you just say that in the first place? So, but there's nothing easier than just sticking the USB into the top of the machine. And
is that the format now? Is that what you're using now when you play out? Just USBs, headphones?
Yeah, I just use the USB and just organize and sort out my playlists. I can use a record box and my laptop in the way that some people use Serato, but I just try and use the USBs now. If I'm doing a real long multi-genre open format set, I might use the laptop, but most of the time I just use my USBs now.
Yeah, I've not stepped into the USB world yet, but I feel like I just need one on emergency standby, just in case like you just said.
Yeah.
Something
What do
goes
you
tits
use?
up, it's good to have it. I'm used Serato personally, but I've just never. There's been one or two times where I've gotten a sticky one, and having that USB definitely would have would have saved the day. So
yeah, I'm on Serato too, but I've got to admit, there was a time when I turned up. Actually, it's more than one time, but I've turned up at the club and left the laptop charger at home. And knowing that, right, I've got 4 hours to play and probably about 2 hours worth of battery, I'm gonna need to use the USB. So it's always a handy thing to have.
Yeah,
But,
USBs are handy, man. I mean, I've turned up and USBs have lost, so I've now got into the habit of leaving a USB in the car in an emergency. At one point, I had one on my keyring.
Yeah, that's what I do.
You could just have it on your keyring. Do you know what I mean? So
yeah,
they are so handy like that. Yeah, they're good. And listen, there's good things if you embrace the technology. They are there to make our job a little bit easier. As much as I do that, I still really appreciate the feel of vinyl, and the vinyl sounds different as well. I forgot how different vinyl sounds. It hit it home on the weekend when I done that stream. But yeah, you got to embrace the technology, man.
we had this conversation the other week, didn't we, Double? Because I went from Technics, I moved over to CDJs, and then only like 6 months ago, I went back to vinyl because I just felt like the feel of the CDJ was making me not really fall out of love with it, but just the passion just didn't.
Yeah.
It just didn't feel the same. And when I went back to my vinyls and I'm back in, it just kind of brought the whole, like the original essence of why I got into DJing in the first place. Because with all the technology, I just kind of lost my way, and I think that was what I pinned it down on. It was not having that feel of the vinyl and the record, and just the mix, the way you mix with vinyl as well. I feel like CDJs, it's not cheating, but I feel like it's a lot. Can I say it? It's easier, right?
Yeah,
like,
of course. Easier. No, people might disagree here, but I find using turntables is like playing an instrument. Like I really look at it that way. Learning how to use turntables and the pitch and everything about it, mixing with decks and with turntables, it's like playing an instrument. But using CDJs for me, not taking away from people that there's some, like Scotty B's a great example. He does incredible things with CDJs. Yeah, it's unbelievable. So it's not dumbing down the DJing, but I find it's a lot easier to use because it's just buttons. But yeah, turntables for me, it's like an instrument.
Yeah, it is. It's a complete different art form, and I think that I guess that I came from maybe a time when it was as much to do with what music you played as to how you played it. So I came through as a selector, what I'd call a selector, and then learnt some technical proficiencies so I could sort of scratch and do back to backs, and then you start doing little tremors and little patterns with the scratches and chopping between the two tracks. But I was always someone who said, I could take anyone on with one deck. If it was just about, can you pick the right record to play at any one time? Let's go head to head, because that's the purest form of being a DJ. Do you know what I mean? That's the purest
it sounds like a chat. The challenge is out there now. Who reckons they can take Spoony on?
Put it in the comments. Can have pure DJs
now. Let's talk about like the early days of your career and how it went from being just kind of a cool, fun thing to do, like music, just listening at home, to am I right in thinking that pirate radio was the first sort of initial step to being a professional DJ? And was that how Dream Team formed as well?
Yeah, absolutely, 100%. It was pirate radio. I was actually playing a more soulful brand of house music at that time. A lot of the stuff that came in from the USA, Masters at Work and Kerry Chandler, Michael Watford on vocals, and then the UK started developing its own sound, got into pirate radio, which is where I met Timmy and Mikey on London Underground. The Dream Team was formed. A couple of years later, we had a show on Kiss. A couple of years after that, we had a show on Radio 1. So it was a real whirlwind of a time. But I guess it was we were there or thereabouts at the front of a perfect storm, because UK Garage just took the UK by storm, and away we went. We just rode that wave.
You skimmed over some really important details there. Like
I was about to say, I went from the underground radio to Kiss to Radio 1.
In terms of like the formation of Dream Team, so how did you guys meet? What was the setup? Because I initially thought that you must have been just friends that knocked about, and because a lot of people, that's the backstory. Oh, we were friends and we just shared a passion, and then we just decided to do it collectively. But you actually met at radio, right? So,
and that's kind of like that. That is kind of like what happened. So in a funny way, and so much was my professional respect for Timmy and Mikey individually that when I listened to them, I mean, Timmy was a master of the mix, and he was really passionate about the technical side of DJing, which I loved because I had that as well. And then Mikey, coming from an old sound system background, he was a genuine selector. So when I would listen to their shows on London Underground, and because I respected what they did as DJs, I just found myself liking them as presenters and what they did. Then we would, you know, on my own show, I would give them shouts because I knew they would listen, and vice versa. And then we met at the pirate radio station meeting. We, you know, once a quarter we'd have a meeting, and then I actually met them, and you know, we had a little bit of a giggle, and some football chat came in, and it worked out that, unbeknown to us, we all lived within a sort of mile and a half of each other.
Right.
So yeah, so then we just started. Yeah, we just started hanging out in the daytime. We'd make, you know, we started doing some mixtapes, come around, just chilling out at my place when I lived in Edmonton. And we, like I said, we just hang out and play music. And when it really started to take shape, because they were now friends of mine, if I ever got a booking that I couldn't take, I would say, why don't you get Timmy, or why don't you get Mikey? And they would do the same. So suddenly now we were helping each other. We were helping each other get work, and it just grew. It became more formal than that. Then we got a gig. The first time the phrase was coined, we got a gig to do a place called Powerhouse in Stratford, which is like in the Olympic site now. And we got a gig, and I was sort of enlisted to do the voiceover. So I wrote the ad, recorded, but before I recorded the ad, I was looking for a line to close it, and I couldn't find this line. It was right, but it just wasn't there. And I was like, I couldn't get it. And then it just came to me, and it was from London Underground, the Dream Team.
The Dream Team.
And that was it. You know, it was a lucky 147. Let's say it was a fluke on the first red. And, and the way we went, yeah.
Yeah, sick. That's history right there. And like, so obviously, so did you then merge your pirate shows together, or were you still doing separate shows, or how did it?
So we did that's another interesting thing, because we still had our own shows, and then we sort of badgered the owners to let us do a show together. And
as in a third show, or you were just
we just did one show 1 week.
Right.
Mikey used to do a show with Jason K. Timmy used to do his own show. I did my own show, but
I'm getting flashbacks galore with these name drops now. This is my childhood. This.
I mean, there's more. I'm sort of just skimming over stuff. And then we went and done a show. We did a show together. Really enjoyed each other's company, the energy, and obviously we had, you know, my audience, Timmy's audience, Mikey's audience, all in one place. So it was a really popular show. People recorded it and were sharing and selling tapes, because it was a time when that's the only way you could listen back to a show. And then we said, right, let's try and do this. Let's take this on to the next level. And, you know, not before long, we got a whisper that Kiss wanted to put another garage show on the station, because at the time, Tough Jam, Matt and Carl had a show, and we knew that they were looking to do another one. So at the time, they would never have appointed a pirate radio station DJ or DJs onto a legal station. So we came off of pirate for about 6 months, and then, you know, we got the phone call and we went on to Kiss.
In the time before email and social media, where it's so easy, like if I wanted to connect with someone from One Extra right now, I just find the producers on Instagram and find their email, etc. Like, how did you make the connection with Kiss back then, in a time before like digital media?
I think we were just, you know, that was around, I think we joined them in 1997, when North Londoners at the time, Kiss were on Holloway Road. And Kiss was a station that I'd been into before with, you know, Bobby and Steve. By the way, get well soon, Stevie. They used to do a night called Garage City with a friend of mine called Michael Bolgin, who was, you know, a big promoter. They used to do all the big gigs. So I was well familiar with Kiss and its location. So we had some kind of ins, and like I said, I'd done a couple of guest mixes on Bobby and Steve's Friday night show anyway.
Right.
So we knew, we knew where to go, and people had your telephone number, which didn't have a 7 in it at the time. It was, as
But
it
just
is now.
020.
0410 or 0956 0973. Mikey was on Orange. Mikey's still got the same telephone number that he had back then.
Wow.
Really?
Still got the same
Flipping
telephone
heck.
number. Yeah.
Old school.
Yeah. So again, it was like, people could find us, and we got the phone call, went in there, did a demo, and we ended up having, by the time we left Kiss, we had 3 shows a week on Kiss. Yeah. 2 Dream Team shows, and I had a show on my own. So yeah, it was good times for us. And then we joined Galaxy, because garage music got to a stage where it wasn't just a London thing. It needed to go further afield. In some ways, people were saying it was just a London thing, but we said, well, we need to take the music outside of the capital. Galaxy approached us and said they'll give us a prime time Friday night slot. So we were going out from 8 till 10, Liverpool, Manchester, Newcastle, Birmingham, Cardiff.
That was when it was all the regional shows, wasn't it? Instead of I remember.
And they syndicated that show, and then we were on there for 6 months, and then we joined Radio 1.
You guys must have been presenting or working a show to a pretty high level, like in the pirate days, to get like the bump up the way you did to walk into like a national network like that. Like you guys must have set a pretty high pirate radio level. So
I always loved the medium of radio, and even though I was on a pirate radio station, in my head, I wanted myself to present my music like Chris Tarrant or Kenny Everett, but I just wanted to be playing garage music. David Rodigan, another one who we grew up listening to, Greg Edwards, another massive DJ, who they were all on, whether it be BBC London or whether it be Capital, Kiss FM at the time, that I wanted to present my music properly, but I wanted to play our music, and that was the only difference. I mean, I used to listen to, Chris Tarrant on Capital and Chris Evans on Radio 1 in the morning, just to see how they presented their shows, and then I wanted to take that and put that onto a pirate. So yeah.
Because surely all the garage shows back then were more about the MCing, people coming in, doing bars and everything more in the pirate level. Were you guys one of the first bunch to actually present garage in that manner, like more of a presenting style, and putting it, like packaging it in a more professional way, if you like?
Yeah, I think what we tried to do was make the show sound like it was planned, make it sound like we had a structure. So we would have MC elements to it, and we would do shouts, but we wouldn't talk over vocals. We wouldn't just be doing shouts all the time. When we were going to do a mix, the mix would be coming up. So it was just had a little bit more structure to it. We looked at our mixes like features. We looked at the shouts like they were features. We didn't like I say, just pick the mic up and speak at any time, because when you listen to, let's just say, normal radio, that's not how it's done. So it was just combining the best of the craft with the best music.
Was it the kind of pirate station that you had to make a runner sometimes if someone's knocking the door down? Because I never grew up around the pirate station era, but I hear so many stories of someone's knocking on the door, we've got to grab the stuff and jump off the balcony. Like, was it that kind of station, or was it more established and they kind of just let it happen because it was a good place for people to be?
Now, the thing is, all pirate stations had to go through that, whether it is Deja Vu, whether it was Freak, whether it was Rinse, whether it was London Underground that we were on. And I mean, they were all very well run, but when you're doing something illegal, which pirate radio broadcasting is, you always stand the risk of your liberty being taken, and maybe more importantly, your records being taken. So
yeah, I've heard those stories.
Yeah, we always had to be really careful of what we did, and studios was always moving around, and sometimes the studios would get taken off air. But I mean, no pirate radio station, no underground UK music, really, honestly. Pirate radio stations is so important to UK garage, to jungle, to drum and bass.
Oh, to grime, to it's like pirate stations seem to have played a massive part in. I mean, they seem to have laid the foundation for every form of UK music that we know.
Without a doubt, you know, without it, you know, the music wouldn't have got the support. I know for a fact how influential, of paramount importance that the pirate radio stations have been to UK garage. And like I said, we were lucky because we were on what I would say to be the best pirate station at the time. If you were on Freak FM, you might argue it, but I'd look and say, you know, the
station beef.
Yeah.
You know, the winners that came out of London Underground, the quality of the broadcasting, the quality of the music. I mean, don't get me wrong, Freak had some very good DJs on it. I mean, EZ was on Freak FM, but you know, we had a trailer load of EZs on London Underground. And don't get me wrong, even though EZ has gone on to move the world and do unbelievable things, at that time in the mid-90s, you know, we had all of the big DJs on our station, Ramsey and Fenn, Mr. Jones, Timmy, Mikey, Hermit and Daryl B. These are legends of the scene. They were all on London Underground, you know what I mean? So
was there a little bit of a competitiveness in the streets back then between the stations? Was it like a bit of a friendly beef going on?
You know what, maybe there were. I mean, we were both predominantly North London based, but you know, there was enough for everybody to go around, and all of those guys who grew up, I know all of those, you know, the main cats from over there. I mean, MC Rankin used to work with EZ and Madness, and MC Rankin ended up becoming our MC. So, you know, we know all of those guys.
You stole him, basically. You stole him.
No. Listen,
Man tapped him up, you know. It's like a dodgy football agent.
He wanted to come. He wanted to come, man. He knew what's going on out there. Yeah, it's. I mean, listen. In that instance, you know that if you're training with someone who's stronger than you, if you're running with someone who's faster than you, it just ups your levels.
100%.
So for us, it was a good thing to have that healthy competition from Freak. You know, like I said, they're DJs, they knew their music, that they were a proper run radio station, just like we were, but it just helped us to keep our stuff sharp.
Yeah, competition, it's healthy, man. Healthy competition.
Oh, you need that to keep on your A game, man. You need that stuff.
Exactly.
Well, I mean, I say this, and I'm not, you know, saying this to gas you, Dubs, but when I came out to Cos, in the sense of that I was the headline DJ flying in, and you were the resident DJ that played there every week. When I heard you play, I said, I need to make sure I keep my levels up. Not
Dubl was showing out, wasn't he? I love that.
He's just a very good DJ. And again, if I come on to that set after the resident DJ does that, and I'm meant to be the headline DJ, I've got to up my levels. I've got to make sure my stuff is, like I said, sharp. So that's why it's always good to be around good company, be around sharp minds, sharp skills, sharp plans, because it makes sure and it ensures that you do your stuff and keep your stuff to the right level.
100%.
Yeah, 100%.
Dubl keeping the headlines on their toes. I love that, Dubs.
There you go. Yeah, that's my Instagram clip right there. The co-sign from SPOONY.
Go on, Dubs.
I was going to ask about the production side of Dream Team, because just before you came on, me and Stylus were going
having
through,
a little garage rave.
we're having a little clash. We're having a little garage clash before you came on. Like, oh shit, I forgot that they produced this and this and this, and like, I was never a garage DJ, and in all honesty, I was never a huge garage fan. What got me into listening into garage music was the Twice as Nice compilations and stuff. And there was a particular song on there, which actually I think to this day is probably still my favorite garage tune. It Ain't Enough. But on the Twice as Nice one, I believe it was the Dream Team remix. Okay. And you correct me if I'm wrong, the Dream Team remix was the prominent version of the song, right? It was the most popular version.
Absolutely.
Yep.
So then we went down a rabbit hole of finding other garage tunes, and then we were just like, oh, and this one, and this one, and this one.
It was that Amira remix, man. That's still to this day, because that still lengths off club sets now, bro.
Yeah.
It's interesting when I look back that there were producers in that scene that were way more prolific than us in volume. You know, the amount of brilliant work, and not just volume, I should say quality as well, whether that be Wookie, whether that be MJ Cole, whether that be Tough Jam, Artful Dodger, of course, put out so much brilliant music. And compared to those guys, we didn't put out much. However, a lot of the stuff that we did put out have stood the test of time.
Classics, man.
And you know, they are classics. And you know, I'm proud to say that. And again, we have to give a very special mention to Timmy Magic, because Timmy was the one who did the lion's share of the work in the studio.
Okay.
I think that where I most probably was sort of head of department in the radio, Timmy absolutely was head of department in the studio. So all of those brilliant creations largely come out of the hands and minds of Timmy, even though they were produced under the Dream Team name, because we would still have a little bit of input, but they were often Timmy's brainchild.
Okay. Oh, is it the Buddy X99 edit?
Yeah,
oh
big,
my
yeah.
days.
Yeah, and I mean, there's a couple of different mixes of that, because we always try to do a version that could be played on radio, but also played in the club.
Okay.
But then we would, you know, you get into the studio and you start tweaking about with something, and then suddenly you've got a dub vocal that, you know, that needs to end up on the vinyl somehow as well. You know, or the second vinyl, or some people beg for it and they end up getting it on the dub to cut. But yeah, you know, there's, you know, Piece by Piece, Nobody's Business was another banger that we did that summer that flew under the radar a little bit. It ain't enough. A lot of people don't realise that
that's the one
that we're involved in that. My Desire, everyone knows, you know, My Desire, or people love the record and they don't even realise that it's a Dream Team remix. So that, you know, it's nice when I hear people just say that they love My Desire by Amira. I don't even always say that it is a Dream Team remix. I just let it slide.
Just lets it roll.
You just take the point silently.
Yeah, it's
so,
nice.
So you said you didn't really do as much as you guys probably could have done in the production. Was there a reason for that? Because the couple of records that you obviously made and put out, like you say, went on to be classics. So like, surely like you had the recipe to like keep killing it in the production world, or did people just kind of maneuver into their own lanes as it progressed?
You know what it was? When I look back, I think it was maybe more to do with the fact that at the time, because we had the radio show and we were, you know, there or thereabouts as being the DJs, it was just very time consuming, the travel.
Yeah, it is, man.
To do that, the attention and focus you need to do the radio show, a couple of shows a week. We were DJing 4 nights a week. So, you know, at the time, if you look and think, you know, whether MJ Cole, Artful Dodger, Wookie, these guys weren't DJing. So they had just been in the studio, just making brilliant records all the time. We didn't have that luxury. So every now and again we would go in and do something. And, you know, luckily, like I said, we can look back and go that we've definitely left a good legacy of some big UK garage records.
Yeah, definitely. I guess the process of production back then was so different as well, because even once, I mean, I'm not even sure what the equipment that would be used, but it wouldn't be stuff like you can just plug in and do it now. But even down to once you've got the finished version and you've got the mix and master, now you've got to cut it to vinyl and you've got to get enough of them to service all the DJs. So you've got to get it to them. Like there was a whole post-production process which just doesn't exist.
I feel like
now.
the artists now have it so easy. They can just set up a release on Spotify, send it out through all the digital outlets. Like there's so much went into like processing a garage tune back then.
So look, right, so just to put it in context, right, so we would say we made a record and we knew we were going to make the record and we were going to cut it. If we wanted that record played in Manchester or in Leeds or in Birmingham, we would have to speak to Injector or Andy J in Huddersfield, or we'd have to speak to Andy Ward, you know, or Patrick Smooth and say, right, you guys need to come to London to get the DAT, or you need to come to Music House to cut. And that would be the only way they would get the record that weekend, or they'd have to wait for us to be on the road and come to their town to get to that machine to go and then get it cut. And that's why I said back then, I think you have a different relationship with the music because of what you had to do to get it. There was no, you know, now I can sit in here, we can finish a track, I can just press send it to Iron at Salter Streets, and boom, he's got it done. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I think that's the reason why there's so much throwaway music now. Going back to what we touched on earlier, because the process is just it's just a lot easier, and people don't really have the attachment to the music like you would back then, where you put in the hours in, the real graft is going behind the record. Now it's like, make a track, it's out, it's released, and it's on to the next one kind of thing.
What 100? I just said iron.
Said I ain't told the streets. I'm not going to say anything.
No. I was about to correct you because I know Iron listens, and I'm going to get an angry text. Iron's media to radio. Maurice is sold to streets.
Sorry, Iron. Sorry, Maurice. You can see that I was thinking of both of them at the same time.
There you go.
And got it mixed up. But
and now because of that, they both got a special mention. So you're right. It didn't go under the radar.
Exactly.
They'll both appreciate that.
Exactly. They both got the love. Both thinking about both of you. But there you go. I do believe that's why people have a different relationship with it. And I always give the analogy that if you pay £150 for a pair of white trainers, you ain't going to go and wear them on the muddy grass. You're going to look after them.
Yeah. Facts.
You get given a pair of trainers that are worth £5. You just wear them and then throw them in a bin. And that's what I think happens with vinyl and digital music, that it's a little bit more throwaway, it's a little bit more disposable, and people don't treat it in the same way.
Yeah, even if you get that same £150 pair of trainers, but you get them for free, the value's not there because you've just been given them. Like, it's not your hard-earned cash that's paid for that. So yeah, massively, I think that plays a huge part.
Yeah. I still, I've been lucky with most things in my professional life, and I still think along those terms, that treat things as though you had to work to pay for it, because you look after it in a different way. Do you know what I mean? And I can remember working a 9 to 5 and spending 65-70% of my monthly salary on vinyl. I can remember those days. I can remember those days clearly.
£9 on a single, and it would only be pressed on one side. The other side's not even got a B side.
Completely smooth.
I remember when Deneo dropped the Bounce record, and it was a test press that I got hold of, and it was just one side.
Social circles.
And I'd never seen a one-sided vinyl before. I was like, right, and I think it was like $9.50 or something.
Because at them times, they might only press 1,000 or 2,000 copies. Again, if you've got a copy of that on vinyl, that will be rare. Because especially if it's in good condition. But again, I got into the bad habit of loving some of the US music, which meant that I had to pay import prices, and sometimes it was import albums. £15 for an album.
Yeah.
Of which there might only be 1 or 2 tracks on the album. I've paid £15 for 12-inch singles. Linda Clifford, Runaway Love, £15. LA Nights, £15 I paid for those. I remember paying, it was £15 for the cold cut remix of Paid in Full, and I had to leave Stoke Newington and go to Bluebird Records in Harrow Road, Edgware Road, and it's £15 because it was just a limited edition white label. But if you didn't go and pay the £15 for it, someone else would,
and you're not going to have it in your arsenal.
And then you won't have it, and then you wouldn't have it.
I did the same thing with it was Fat Man Scoop's Be Faithful.
Yeah.
When it was the biggest record in the clubs, but the first time round when it was pre-release, and it was on AV8.
It was the AV8 one, wasn't it?
AV8.
The black and white cover.
Yeah, I paid. There was an explicit version and a radio edit version on the other side, so only 2 of them, and I paid £20 or £25 for that record. Because it wasn't available in the UK.
You had to have that in the craze back then, though, man. That was a necessity.
US import. I was like the up and coming DJ in Brighton, so I needed these records. And I think the guy saw me come in the room and he's like, he needs it.
Yeah, he's seen you coming, Dubs.
Let's put a 2 in front of the 5. Yeah, £25.
Right, it's what happens. Is what you used to do, but I guarantee you would have looked after that record. You know what I mean?
I still got it, mint condition.
That was one of the most enjoyable parts of the process of gathering music back then. Like we built such good connections with like Fat City and a few of the local Manchester ones, Vinyl Exchange. You would go there and they would put a pile behind. They wouldn't even reach the shelf because he knows Monday you're coming in and probably wiping out the stash. So it got to the point where we would let me go down into the basement. They would have 1 or 2 turntables down there and the whole store stash would be there, and he would just let me sit down there and rinse through and take what I needed.
You know,
even just having that relationship with the record shop owners, like all that's kind of nostalgic moments.
Yeah, you've got your area on Smash if the local record shop owner put them underneath the register for you before you got there. Oh, you're here. I've got this for you. Like that. Then you know you're a guy in your area.
let me one of my proudest moments when I look back at all of the stuff that, you know, whether it be me individually or, like I say, collectively as the Dream Team have achieved. I can remember when I really felt sort of like proud of myself, when I felt that, you know what, you've actually done this now, you're in. You people respect you and talk about you in DJ terms. And it wasn't, you know, we used to earn a phenomenal amount of money, and I've driven, you know, cars that I dreamed of having, and was able to go into the showroom and drive out in a brand new car and go to the main streets in London and buy whatever clothes I wanted without looking at the labels. I was able to do that. But that wasn't the thing that got me. The thing that got me was going into a packed record shop on a Friday and them almost just going, can you just
partying like the ocean? Spoonie's coming through.
Man's
moves out the way.
Man's got his tunes. Because and the reason I say that is because I spent years going into the record shop and being one of those people that moved aside when the big DJ came in there. And I'm not saying it like you went in there and told everyone to move. It was just the respect from the shop to go, this is what he does for a living.
Yeah.
He's coming in there for all of this time, and it just made me feel warm. And again,
proper, man.
when I first started cutting dubs, and the place we used to go to one or two places in Hackney. There was Jatabi's, which is called JTS, and on Holloway Road, just down the road from Kiss, was Music House. And I want to say, you know, R.I.P. to Leon Chu, who's Wookie's younger brother, who sadly recently passed away, who used to cut our dubs at Music House. And I remember being in there one day, and it was like the barbershop, right? The barbershop on the Saturday before term time. The queue every Friday was around the block, and you would just have to go and wait your turn. And I remember being in there once, and I might have been waiting for 2 hours, and I'm now just nearly at my turn to get served. And Groove Rider came in, right? And Groove Rider just came in, and that was it, mate. Just have to back up, because there's a real bad man DJ in the place, and he had a stack of dubs, and I just had to settle again, let him get his dubs cut. And then I remember when the time came around where I was able to put that phone call in, yeah, just come down, and you just walked to the front of the queue, and I was like,
yes,
yeah, you're actually a DJ now.
I made it to the top of the ladder.
and honestly, like I said, it wasn't the 5-star hotels and the first class flights and the brand new cars and the Bond Street and the Sloane Square. It was walking into Music House and walking into Release the Groove and getting just served at the front like that.
Yeah. Very, very briefly, just explain the process of cutting dubs, because I know we've got a very young DJ audience, or a portion of our audience is young DJs who have only known the digital age, so they don't know the struggle. They don't know the record shop dynamics. So yeah, just very quickly explain cutting dubs to the people that don't know.
All right, so when you finish recording a track and making a track in the studio, you then put it onto a DAT, which we call DAT, but it's a digital audio tape, which was a higher quality than the normal audio cassettes that would be in a car. That would be of broadcast or professional quality. Then you take that to a facility which we call the dub cutters, where they press up a one-off vinyl of that, where it's called acetate because it's heavier than vinyl. But it'd be just
that's a really thick one, isn't it?
It's really thick piece of plastic, really heavy, and it would be a one-off. And we were talking about paying £15, 20. Those were £35 for a 12-inch version, or for a 10-inch version of one of those tracks. So basically, they put the audio cassette in a machine that sends a signal onto a big, what looks like a turntable, and that turntable would go around and cut.
And it just cuts
it was like a blade on it, wasn't it? And it would and cut all the grooves.
Yeah. Amazing bit of machinery.
Yeah, that's crazy.
If there are any up and coming DJs watching this, I would say, as part of homage to your profession, try and find out where your local dub cutters is, and go and just watch the process. And I think it's a beautiful thing. If you're a football fan, you've got to go and watch a live football game. I think if you're a DJ, you've got to go and see a dub plate being cut. And actually, you should every DJ should own one dub, just to say that this is the purest form. This is a one-off version of it. And even if other DJs have that track, every one is cut individually. So they are like individual pieces, works of art, because they are one-offs.
Yeah. So get your favorite song. Isn't it, really? Get your favorite song and go and get it cut into a dub, basically. But yeah, so that disc that's cut, that then becomes the master copy for future prints. Is that correct? Is that how it works? This is the bit of the process I don't understand.
I mean, the acetates are one area where you have that for yourself. When they go to a bigger pressing plant and they have that and it's been mastered, they press onto vinyl in a different way. It's a similar process. It's
just mass produced.
But it's mass produced. Yeah.
Right, and they still use the DAT. Oh, okay. I don't know why I thought that. I always thought it was the acetate was then the master copy for future vinyls. But it's the DAT.
Yeah, it's just that.
So a bit of a time hop, but it's definitely something we need to speak about, is the Garage Classics at the Royal Albert Hall. What an idea.
Yeah, that looked mental, man.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not gonna sit here. As you may have guessed already, I don't sort of take credit for what isn't all mine. I didn't one day say how good this is going to be to have an orchestra playing garage music. There were a few minds that started to develop the idea, and what you see was maybe my version of it, but with the help of like some conversations that went on before. But again, what I've also learned in this business, it's about execution. It's about taking the idea out of your head and making that happen. And that's what Garage Classical became.
Yeah, I feel like you guys fully stepped out the box there with the 36-piece orchestra, but playing the garage anthems. Like, you just wouldn't have ever thought to even put that, like, making it a reality. Like, how was it as a task in general, pulling that whole thing off?
Well, I mean, look, if we look back, Goldie did an orchestral performance of Timeless, that legendary and iconic album. Pete Tong did an Ibiza version of it with the house music. So actually, when you look at it from that perspective, it wasn't sort of rocket science to go, wow, we should do an R&B. Why don't we do an R&B one? You know what? No, let's do a garage one. This is what we know. So that's what we kind of did. And because of my position and standing, I was able to, ring round and get most of the original vocalists to come and perform, and, even get some real superstars. When we did the Royal Albert Hall, we had Emily Sandé, we had the original Sugar Babes lineup, we had Paloma Faith, Craig David came out and did a set as well. To mention, and I'm not forgetting the originals like So Solid and Heartless Crew and Nene, who of course did the tunes in the beginning. But just to know that we've got these superstars that can come through and lend a hand because they love the genre as well. And that was just that little bit of stardust that I know we've done and that we're going to look to do when we do the future performances.
I was about to say, I've seen the advertisement for the one that's meant to be this year. Like, what's obviously with the COVID restrictions, like, are you guys definitely going to be stepping in and doing a second one, obviously, when all this settles down?
Yeah,
I'm reaching the next one.
Yeah,
100%.
Yeah, you got to come. It's going to be at Kew Gardens. It's going to be in the summer. There's something about garage music.
Garage in the summer.
Summer. It's what it's made for. So we're hoping. We have our fingers crossed. I spoke to Katie earlier this week, who is she looks after the orchestra. She heads up the Ignition, and she's just so excited. And I'm like, Katie, there's a pandemic. This might not happen, but actually, Katie, now you've made me excited, and I'm just having to manage my expectations, but I'm really, really hopeful that we're able to do it. I mean, we nearly sold out 7,000 tickets.
Wow.
To do it last year, and obviously some people have had to give their money back, but we're still nearly sold out, and we haven't We haven't re-advertised it yet, so we're hoping. I think July the 8th, Thursday, July the 8th, we're going to be at Kew Gardens in West London.
So is it a case of it's only going ahead if you can do it with the audience, or would you adapt it to be an online thing?
I think even something like that could be streamed in a very special way, man. I think so. Obviously, in audience, everybody wants audience, don't they? So
yeah, listen, it'd be amazing. I mean, we've had a fantastic run so far. We sold out the Barbican, one of the most iconic music and art centres in the world. We did the Hammersmith Palais, which, again, some of the biggest artists that have ever lived performed on that same stage. And then we did the Royal Albert Hall, and what can I say? It's the Royal Albert Hall. It's when you walk around that building and you see the events that have been on there, and not just music events, massive tennis tennis matches, exhibition tennis matches have been played at the Royal Albert Hall. Boxing matches have also been done at the Royal Albert Hall. To take something that is headed up with your name and say that you sold out the Royal Albert Hall, it's
part of the history books now.
I was going to say that's historic, man.
Historical.
That's no small thing.
There's a thing about garage and sunshine, man. Like I feel like every summer you get like one or two of these garage hits that'll all come into the charts, or then it'll kind of just bubble or like fade away again a little bit towards the winter. Like, do you ever think we'll see a full garage resurgence like what we had back in like the 90s and when you came through with the Dream Team stuff? It's a complete different market now, isn't it?
Yeah, listen, I'm not sure. I know that it's a beautiful sound. The music's still being played. There's still some. I say young. They must be not young, but they're younger than me. So they're young producers making the music still. So listen, there's no reason why not. And I'm a music lover. As long as the music is good, cool. And obviously, because of my relationship with garage, I would love to see there be another wave of it. Whether it will be what it was late 90s, early 2000s, I don't know. But even if there isn't, that doesn't matter. The fact of the matter is that it was there, it was brilliant, it was special. We're still talking about it, we're still playing it, and more importantly, we're still able to sell out the Royal Albert Hall over 20 years later.
Yeah, it's definitely left its stamp. That it's just a feel good energy around garage music that just kind of never left. And even 20, 30 years later, people will still run the same records like they came out yesterday.
Yeah, that's the thing. Even on radio now, you still hear it on radio now. Even when they do like the flashback shows and the throwback shows and stuff, garage is still very prominent there. Even though, like, when it comes to the clubs, I feel like the quote unquote old school music, what to us or to me when I started hitting the clubs, the old school stuff was the garage. Now it's UK funky from like 2000, from the 2009 era. That's the old school for the club goers. But the people listening to the radio, the demographic's so wide. So yeah, when the radio do the flashback shows and that, is UK garage is still there. I still get so much love.
Yeah, because there's so many hits that came out at that time as well. So that's the other thing that people often forget. It wasn't one or two records. It was relentless for 2 years. That it seemed as though there was at least one UK garage record in the top 10, and right across the board as well. When I think of the magical and beautiful things about UK garage, it's how diverse it was. That one end of the scale you'd have So Solid Crew, and then at the other end of the scale you might have Flowers, and these are both in the same genre. And not many genres can boast having that amount of flexibility and diversity within its sound. What I mean?
True stories.
Yeah, definitely, man. I guess it's almost like you could compare it to what's going on with rap now, with UK rap especially. You've got the UK rap that would be Skinny Man, Kalashnikov and stuff. Then you've also got like the Afro rap wave, and now drill is very prominent. It's all under the rap umbrella, but it's all
there's so many things. Like sub genres and side genres within the overall genre, isn't it? There's no limits on music now, man. So it's just evolving and taking on its own forms in different genres, which I'm here for it, man.
I mean, the thing is, in that instance, I wish that people like Clash and Skinny Man got a little bit more love and credit for what they did. I think at the time, what was going on in that scene is that it was so focused on the US that the UK rappers really didn't get the credit. And this is where UK Garage was big, because it was by us for us. There wasn't there wasn't another version of it. There wasn't an alternative that seemed bigger. Whereas, like I said, when you start talking about Black Twang and Kalashnikov and Skinny Man, that people would then go, oh yeah, but it's it's not LL Cool J, is it? And it's not Biggie, and it's...
I think the difference there is where a lot of the artists were independent or signed to very small labels, the budgets were small, whereas in America, the budgets were big. You had these massive, amazing videos and that coming out. But also, if you look at the Skinny Man and Clash era of hip hop, they're making stuff that's relatable to their lives at the time. So it really, a lot of it was kind of just depressing stuff, talking about how crap life is. And when people are in the clubs, they don't want to hear that. But the Americans are talking about, I've got all the money, I've got the cars, I've got the women, I'm celebrating, I'm partying. So they were making party music. Whereas in that era, there's not a lot. Black Twang was a bit of an exception, but there wasn't a lot of party music coming out of UK hip hop.
Yeah. But again, when you look at who was playing hip hop at the time in this country, did they give enough love to the UK artists? I don't think that they did, in the same way that UK Garage was massive, because all of the stations were playing all of the music from the UK artists. So even though you had massive American artists like I said, Masters at Work or Kerry Chandler or Roger Sanchez, brilliant, that's fine. But we're playing MJ Cole, we're playing Wookie, we're playing TJ Cases, we're playing everything that comes out on public demand. That's what we were doing. Did the UK support its own rap scene enough? I think now, absolutely. What's going on now with UK rap is unbelievable. Yeah. But I'm saying that's the fundamental difference between what is going on now to what's going on then. And I'm not, this isn't being I'm not saying that the music then was better than now, or the music now was better than then. I'm saying this is what happens when you support your own, and that's what that's what UK Garage did. We absolutely supported our own and said, like, it's by us for us. We don't need anyone else. We will have our clubs, we'll play it on our pirate radio stations, and if the labels want to sign us, cool. But you can't go to America, you can't go to New York or New Jersey or LA and get a better version of this. This is it. This is it.
I think Harry Love was one of the DJs who really pushed UK hip hop back then. Was it Harry Love? That was his name, wasn't it? I think it was Harry Love. You're both looking at me with blank faces. That's fine. That's fine.
I mean, don't get me wrong. I mean, in the guys that I know that really pushed it would have been, DJ 279 numbers. He would have been. Wow. He would have done his thing. But when you look at, if you think that Tim Westwood is the sort of the bastion of UK rap, I would go. I would think he never really supported that music. He never really played enough of it. Not in the way that actually post that explosion of US rap and R&B, when it came to the grime scene, and just after the grime scene, he then started supporting those artists. But quite ironically, I could make the argument that, and this might sound controversial, but I can make the argument that UK Garage did as much for UK rap and rappers as UK rap did, in the sense of we were really supporting MCs and MC-led music in UK Garage in a way that, UK Garage turned into grime, which then turned into, and you can see you can see the linear there. And when you look at the biggest, all right, maybe not now, but when you look back and you start talking about the biggest MCs, you talk about Wiley, you talk about Skepta, you talk about Chip, you talk about, going on the next generation, maybe slightly Kano'd, and you start talking about Stormzy and Krypton Conan. You can see how they evolved from Garage, and maybe not Krypton Conan and Stormzy so much, but 100% Wiley, 100% Skepta,
100.
100%.
I remember going to Garage Nation like when I was 18, and it's Wiley and them man are on stage barring the earliest memories.
I think you're right about Krypton Conan. I would say they kind of evolved and birthed their movement from US rap, in my opinion. But definitely, I would say Stormzy's not a reach, because if you look at Stormzy's early days, it comes through grime.
Wickedest Gang Man.
Yeah, and you can see he might get angry if he hears this, but you can see a reflection of Wiley in Stormzy's early days, and you can.
No, but
that's
no. I don't think he. I don't think
That's
he
not a
will be
disrespect
disappointed.
at all. Yeah.
No, I don't think so at all. I think that's accurate from someone who's curates music, from someone who knows the scene. That's exactly how it went. And actually, that would have been a compliment to say, "Boy, you sound like Wiley." That you could not have been more complimentary to an MC back then, because he widely regarded as the godfather of that sound. And even though, like I said, there's brilliant MCs from that time, and Kano and Chip, and the Pay As You Go. These guys opened the doors for people who just wanted to rap, and you could hear the English sound on grime and on garage, and there you are. Do you know what I mean? So, like I said, it might sound controversial, but I genuinely believe that UK garage did as much for UK rap as some UK rap DJs.
I don't think it's a reach at all, because, like you say, if you follow the timeline, you can see the evolution, and then looking at little branches of that, even the online platforms that started as DVDs, following the MCs that were doing pirate shows and that then turned into big YouTube platforms.
Yeah.
That have been started off. Even Grime Daily is a perfect example.
Yeah.
Was Grime Daily, and now is GRM Daily, which is one of the biggest platforms for UK rap. So it's because of the UK garage allowing the MCs to come on and do their thing. Yeah, I never really kind of thought. I've always known it, I think, but I never really put the pieces together like that.
Yeah, and what's meant to happen in an ideal world, you're meant to run your leg, get the baton, and hand it over. And then they run their leg and they hand it over. And that's kind of like, that's what's happening. And don't get me wrong, it's not like I physically said, right, we're finished now, Wiley and Skepta, and, boy, better know, right, you can have that. And then you go and hand it over to Stormzy, and then he's going to go and, it doesn't happen physically, consciously like that. But that is how, the music inspires another time, it inspires another generation, and away you go. So I'm proud of what we did, because and I say I suppose that we need to give credit to the likes of So Solid and Heartless and Pay As You Go, and then going back a bit further than that, Creed and PSG and Blakey and Rankin. These guys,
originals.
These guys made being on the mic. Wow, we can actually do that. Yeah, that's where it starts. That's where it absolutely starts.
Original dons. Yo, before we go, this is the bit where I'm going to bore Dubl to death, because obviously I was tapped into more of your sport presenting stuff when you was doing the 5 Live. So I'm a hardcore United fan, right? And I know you've
Sorry about
that. Well, this guy's getting off. Bro, the guy's interviewed Sir Alex Ferguson, bro. Do you know how epic that is? Like, that is on a different level. Like, where along the timeline did you realize that you could broaden your broadcasting horizons and like start tapping into the sports side of things? And did you ever think you would go on to talk to like the Mourinhos, the Beckhams, the Fergusons, and like the key pinnacle figures within the sporting world? Because like that is one to tell the kids, man.
Yeah, it's I mean, if I go back a little bit, that before the Sir Alex Ferguson interview, that I had always loved football, and was on Radio 1 talking a little bit about football, and something else heard me talking about football, and then got in touch and said, are you really, like, you into your football? And I'm like,
you on it like that?
Yeah, I'm on it. I'm like, really? So we did a series where I went to the homes of 6 young England hopefuls and interviewed them about their football career, but all of them at that time had an interest in music, so they kind of they knew who I was because of Radio 1 and garage, more so than Radio 1. And then we sat down and spoke. And when I say young, these guys were at the time ranging between, how old would they have been, between say 18 and 23 maybe. And I spoke to Jamie Redknapp, Emil Heskey, Jody Morris, Rio Ferdinand,
Wow.
Kieran Dyer, and Michael Dewberry. Those were the 6 players that I went and spoke to, and they were all in and around like England under-21s, England first team.
Okay.
So I went and done that. We did that series, which went out on 5 Live. Then 5 Live asked me to present 606, which was their phone-in show. I did that for 7 years, and then I had because I played golf, I had a relationship with Sir Alex Ferguson's son Jason, and come across with him, and we got on really well. And I'd often asked him and said that I'd really love to interview Dad. And
that's sick. Talk about getting the plug. I just went for his son.
Yeah, and then I got the phone call, and then it said, right, we'd love you to do it. He hadn't spoken to the BBC for I think 7 or 8 years.
Oh, was this when he had the BBC on a ban? Was it?
Yeah, that's right. That's it.
Okay.
Yeah, and he wouldn't speak to the BBC, so I was the first person that he spoke to at the BBC after, and then that show went out. That show went out on 5 Live, and that will go down as an absolute career highlight.
That is epic.
But what was
that's coming from a Liverpool fan as well, don't forget.
But respect due is where
100.
Respect is due. He's the second greatest British manager that ever lived. So we have to big him up. Of course, Bob Paisley is the greatest.
I knew what was coming. Anyway, I've got loads of Scouse mates.
But what was interesting about that interview with Fergie is that at the end of the interview, and I was at 3.5 hours in his house. We were just chilling, playing.
Oh, so you actually went to his crib and
I was in his house. I sat in his den. Where he's got all of his, he's got his books, he's got his snooker table. Yeah, we sat there just chilling, and brilliant, really funny man, really engaging, sharp as a tack, as they say. And at the end of it, I said to him, did you like my tie? And he went, I knew it. I had an official Liverpool club tie on for the.
This guy went to Fergie's house with a Liverpool club tie on. I'm surprised he didn't take that personally, to be honest.
I've done worse than that. I did. This is me with my Liverpool hat on. I did a rugby event at Old Trafford, and I like DJing, and I played "You'll Never Walk Alone" at Old Trafford, which was just absolutely epic.
I'm trying to start a riot.
I did get out of Manchester safely, but it was good fun. That's football banter, though.
100%.
That's someone was giving me a bit of stick on Twitter, and I said to him, "Let me just ask you, if you had the opportunity to play Glory, Glory, Man United at Anfield, would you?" And he went, "Absolutely."
Yeah, I'm right, and then I'd probably run a couple of miles to get away from the aftershock.
But yeah, I loved the I did that for 7 years for 5 Live, and for the last 7 years, I've been working for the Premier League. So I present two shows a week on their programming that goes out around the world, Middle East, Caribbean, Africa, the Far East, North and South America. So yeah, I'm a real football nut.
As an all-rounder, I love that. How did you end up supporting Liverpool, by the way, growing up in London? You're from Hackney originally, right?
Yeah, I am. It's funny that at that time, most of the black boys either supported Arsenal or Liverpool, and I went for Liverpool.
You was on the glory hunt, weren't you? It was on Liverpool. Were dominating.
I was destined to be a winner. Arsenal played. The football was too boring, man. I was never going to go and support them.
That's fair. So, obviously, with the Fergie interview being a highlight, what other things did you throw in the mix in regards to like the pinnacles of your career so far? Because there's some big ones in there, man. I wrote a list and I was like, let's see if he can just pick a couple out of the hat that stand out for him personally.
I mean, from the DJing perspective, I think we had a really successful residency in Ayia Napa between 1998 and 2001. That was brilliant.
And it was booming then as well.
Yeah, that was fantastic. I think when we got the phone call to go and do Radio 1, which we started in January 2000, that was brilliant. Not just for us. And I think what made that so special is that I knew it would be a momentous time for UK Garage. It just needed that at that time. That was fantastic. I think, on a personal, I've DJ'd at some unbelievable events after, you know, I've DJ'd an event after I've come on after Lionel Richie, after Stevie Wonder, after Prince. I DJ'd at David Beckham's 30th birthday party.
What?
You know, it's like
what?
Yeah.
Come on after DJ Dubl in Greece.
Yeah.
Come on the TalkOver Podcast.
Do you know what I'm saying? Yeah. But again, you know, the thing, I forget some of the things that I've done because you don't get wrapped up in the moment. All you really want to do is make people dance, and really that's all I've ever wanted to do. And sometimes it's been to crowds of more famous people than others, but fundamentally I'm just trying to make people dance. So from that end, I have been really lucky with some of the events that I've been able to do and some of the highlights on my career.
It's so
Of
easy.
nerves.
Go on,
Sorry,
Dubs.
go on,
Go on. I was going to say
say-
it's so easy to like rack up these accomplishments, but when everything is so like go and you're tapped into all these different industries, you tend to just do it onto the next one. I guess it's kind of at the end of your career, you'll sit down and look back on all the stuff you've achieved and really like take it in. Same with like footballers and stuff, they don't really take it in till they finish the career and they look back on kind of what they want. It's always like next. Is that kind of being your approach throughout your career, or?
Yeah, to a degree, yes, and not in a way of being complacent and not paying respect to what you've done. But yeah, I you don't want to rest on your laurels. I don't want to get to the point where I think that I'm greater than I am. You know, at the end of the day, I'm a DJ. I'm not saving lives. I speak on the radio. I try and entertain people, but it's not, like I said, it's not life saving. But you do look back, and there are, you know, when I think back, when I did the Sir Alex Ferguson interview. And this is a true story as well. So did the interview went out, everyone really loved it. I was nervous because I knew that there'd possibly get a lot of backlash from other journalists who don't see me as a journalist, but they see, oh my God,
how's he got in there?
Yeah, how's he got in there? But listen, it's not what, but who you know. That's how the saying goes, right?
That's the one.
So, you know, I got to do that interview, but the second best thing about that interview is that afterwards, Sir Alex said to his son, look, we really enjoyed it. If he wants to do another one and I can help him, let me know. So wow. He said, who do you want to do next? So I said, I'd really like to do Jose Mourinho. So Sir Alex
Don't tell me
Ferguson,
Fergie plugged it.
Yeah, he plugged it for me. He called Jose and then we made it happen. So that's a nice story.
Yeah,
that's sick.
That's a special one, man.
Yeah, you know what? It's always a great feeling when you when you finish an interview with someone and they show how much they've enjoyed the interview. Especially, I imagine someone like Alex Ferguson, very high in demand when it comes to interviews. I mean, I'm not a football fan, haven't been since primary school, but he was the head of Man U when I was in primary school and probably the most famous football manager in the world, I imagine. Like, being so high in demand, he's doing them all the time. So for him to then finish it and not just say it, but actually show how much he enjoyed the interview, like that must be a great feeling.
Yeah, let me just say again, the second most famous manager.
My apologies. I was going to ask, did nerves ever play a part in the DJ gigs? Because did you mention doing Beckham's 30th birthday?
Yeah.
And obviously at this point, he's a international superstar as well.
Yeah, that is
so
30th.
The guest list must have been just star-studded. How do you approach DJing to a room full of...
I'd have been picking apart every selection,
No, you know what it is. I think in those instances, right, this is where some people suffer from like an imposter syndrome. That for him to call me, and it wasn't him who called me to do the party. That's another story as well. But to get the phone call to go and do that party, they obviously feel that you are able and capable to do it. Yeah. And the truth of the matter is, if we all have sort of special powers as superheroes, mine was to make people dance. That's what I was maybe put here to do. And everybody, you know, some people are brilliant car mechanics. That is their superpower. So in that instance, I was like, you know, if you do get any sort of nerves, it's just about channeling them into the right area. But I did just think to myself, you're here because he wants you to entertain his guests. You know how to do that. And yeah, just went and done it. I mean, at one point, you know, Brooklyn was only about don't know how old was Brooklyn at the time, 8, 6, something like that. Came and spent some time behind the DJ booth and put the headphones on. And at the time, I tell you what, I was playing the the Bad Boy remix of it's Brooklyn. What was the tune called again?
Want the biggie joint.
Yeah, the biggie one, the biggie.
Yeah, got you,
but it was a mashup. That's it, that one. That's it. And he used to absolutely love it. Yeah, he absolutely love it. You know what I mean? And I don't even know if you remember it. And if I ever saw him, I'd remind him of that. In fact, I bet he would remember, because he afterwards, when I spoke to Victoria, and she's like, "Oh, Brooklyn just does not stop going on about you playing the record with his name on it."
Love that.
You know what I mean? So
left the mark.
Yeah.
That's what DJing's all about, man. Like leaving these memories with people, like you say, that'll stick with him forever. Like to you, it's just like another day in the office kind of thing. But
no, it's special. I remember it. As a football lover, you turn around and Zinedine Zidane was walking in and Roberto Carlos was walking in,
days.
And you're like, wait a minute, and they were just cool, coming up asking, "Can I play this record?" And can they stand there and have a little look? Yeah,
it's easy to forget that these people are just human like the rest of us, because you see the whole, like the way they're portrayed on television and the superstardom. But most, like, even when I've met the United and the City Boys, when I've done parties in Manchester over the years, they're actually super sound and down to earth guys. And it's easy to forget that, man. Especially
when it comes to music. And that's the other thing, that what I've learned is most footballers want to be involved in the music industry. They want to be a rapper, they want to be a DJ. And I just always wanted to be a footballer. So it's like a perfect synergy. And even since then, Daniel Sturridge is producing, he's set up a label. Rio Ferdinand set up a label as well. Yep. I think Raheem Sterling's doing something in music. So they all love it. It's it just makes it an easy start of a conversation.
I feel like the way music and like football and the whole culture all is intertwined in the last 5 to 10 years. Like it never used to be in line with each other, not as much as it is like now.
I think it's probably just more prominent because of social media and because everyone's business is out in the open. You can see, and everyone shows their business now. But I think music and sport has always gone together, because if you look back at like famous fighters, I'm a boxing fan, for example, famous fighters will tell you there's specific songs that they would listen to before a fight, and that puts them in the mind frame to win. So I feel like athletes in general always have a relationship with music.
100%.
And like footballers, obviously football in the UK being one of the most affluent sports, I feel it's easy. Like footballers probably need a hobby or somewhere to put more energy, and they don't want to go to the park and kick a ball around because that's what they do for a living. So music might be a good bit of escapism, and they've got the money to set up labels and get things going. So it is a great synergy, as you say.
It's I've met, like I said, all of the guys because they'd come to clubs and just love it. Whether in Napa, I mean in 2000 and was it 2000? When I tell you the guys that didn't get picked to go to the Euros that we were chilling with, and at the time, and this is no lie, we'd be walking down the road in Napa, and people would stop us and ask them to take a picture of me with them. Yeah. And these guys were playing for England, and I don't say that. I'm not saying that being flash. I'm saying that that's where music. That's the standing that music had, and they were absolutely cool with it. These guys. We've had football celebrations. You've seen goals scored, and the celebration was. Do you remember that Emil Heskey tribute?
Yeah.
Right. That was from Iron Appa.
Wow.
That was So you've seen Rio Ferdinand score and do that. That was another one.
Wow.
Yeah. So this is like I said, the relationship between sport and music, and at the time UK garage was massive. I can't tell you. David Beckham when Victoria Kate did her record with True Steppers, Out of Your Mind.
Oh yeah. Wow.
And right. Dane Bowers as well.
Dane Bowers was having a stint, wasn't it?
Right. So we had that record as an exclusive, and we played it for about 4 weeks, and we didn't say who it was. We just wanted people to like it and not judge
Take it for what it is. Yeah.
Then it came out, went to number 2 in the charts, massive hit, and then Radio 1, they were playing it, but they wanted David to go and do an interview on the station,
Right.
and David said, "I'll do the interview on the station, but I'm only doing the interview if I do it with the Dream Team."
Right. Sick.
Nice.
Yes.
Personal request.
Yeah, that's
Thanks.
incredible. And in the timeline, so that song came out. So Victoria Beckham was Victoria Beckham, of course, and
Yeah,
so
yeah.
that was after Spice Girls and
Yeah,
all that.
post
So
Spice
she was
Girls, yeah.
she was a superstar, right? Yeah. I do remember that song.
Yeah.
I remember Dane, but I don't know Dane Bowers, but I used to see him all the time. He used to always be in the clubs in Brighton,
Always. Yeah.
all
always.
the time.
Yeah, because he used to see someone that lived down there, so he used to hang out down there quite a lot, didn't he?
Right. Oh, that explains it. Mark Morrison's another one. He was always in the clubs in Brighton as well.
What is going on?
I know. Brighton's the place, man.
Yeah,
I think Spirit actually. Yeah, there was. Do you remember doing? I don't think it was a Twice as Nice. I think it was Obsessions.
Yeah.
With Michelle.
Yeah.
Down
That's
in
right.
Brighton,
on it was on the Fair Front. Yeah, because Michelle used to run the club nights at Ministry. So yeah. I remember Mish.
So yeah, I've got, because I have a photo, but I'm pretty sure it's after we'd met. You know what? No, you know what? I don't think it was. I think that was before we met in
Might
college.
have been before.
I'm gonna dig it up. I'll send it to. I'll WhatsApp you the picture because I've got the picture somewhere.
I'd love to see that. That would be my throwback Thursday.
Yes, do it. I'll dig it out later and I'll send it over.
Yo, bro, Spoony, man. We appreciate you taking time out today, mate.
Pleasure, man. Thanks for having me.
I feel like we could sit here and just pick your brains all day. I bet you've got so many gems. This guy got stories for days, man. I can tell already.
Yeah,
He's not even scratching the surface here.
And you know, thank God, a lot of those stories existed before phones and cameras. So
social media.
Yeah, no social media back then. Yeah,
Mad.
But it's good times. In many ways, I think that the fact that there were no phones just meant we lived in the moment and really enjoyed that time. We were always present because there were no distractions. Do you know what I mean? We went out, we danced, we made great memories. But yeah, good times.
We need to get back to that.
When taking a photo meant taking one photo and actually waiting to see if it was even any good once you got it developed.
You'd have to wait a week, maybe even longer, because if you took it on a Monday, you might have to wait till Monday till you got back to England, and then another week for it to be developed. Yeah. Unless you wanted to pay more money to get it expressed.
The 24-hour turnaround.
Dropping the negatives off in boots.
I've still got in here a load of, you know, not the Polaroids, but the actual cassette with the
film inside.
Wow. Yeah.
What, are they developed or are they
I've got some developed ones. Yeah.
I wonder if there must be a service where you can just get them done now. It must be priced.
Yeah.
You probably have to send them off in the post somewhere, man.
Yeah, that's right.
I don't think there'll be any walk-ins. Like back in the day, I used to go to. It was Boots used to do it. So you just used to take your old films in and they'd go back, collect them 2 days later.
Yeah. And then you find out like 16 of them didn't work because it was too dark or too bright, or someone had their eyes closed.
Face like that. Yeah. Exactly.
Man. Well, Spoony, it's been a pleasure, man. Thanks so much for coming on. I feel like,
man. I've been so gassed for today. Like, Dubl told us, like, yeah, Spoony's coming. I was like, fanboy. I'm a fanboy today.
If you ever met me, you'd be like Underworld. I'm just quite normal, really.
It's proper that. Spoony, appreciate you, man. Thank you for your time, bro.
Top man.
Yeah, thank you, brother.
Yeah, I'll TalkOver Pod on the socials. You know what to do. Hashtag TalkOver Podcast. YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts as well. And yeah, man. Where can the people check you out, Spoony? Do you give your socials a quick plug before we bounce?
Nice one, thank you. Instagram and Twitter at DJ Spoony. Facebook if you use it. If you're trying to get out of the Matrix, then maybe you won't. And on Twitch, I stream I do my Spoony's House streams on the weekend at twitch.tv/DJ Spoony. House, garage, rare groove, soul, just good music and good vibes for big people.
Lovely stuff, man. Sick.
Good times. Amazing. Spoony, thank you, brother.
God bless you. Both.
We'll talk soon, man.
Take it easy.
Yo, all right.